Welcome to our mindfulness refresher on April 10th, 2024. So today we're going to be talking about multitasking, which is something I think that we all do. And we're going to talk about ways to counteract that, ways to kind of get more focused and do what's called monotasking, and a little bit about rewiring the brain. In other words, neuroplasticity in simple ways, using the breath in just standard breath work and basic meditations. And we'll do 2 meditations as we usually do. So that's kind of the agenda for today. And we will start with, let me just going to mute everybody. If you need to unmute, please feel free to do that. So we'll start with a pause, mindful minute. And the idea with this pause is simply to slow down. So take a moment to just sit comfortably, feel into the body, feel your breath as it is. Allow the breath to slow down a little bit. So take a little deeper, longer breath. So your breathing rate is slower. Notice what's going on in the mind. There might still be a lot of things swirling around up there. And that's fine. That happens. We're at work. Lots of stuff going on. But as you breathe slowly, focus in on the breath. Thoughts will be there. Just let them kind of slide on by. Continue to focus on that slow breathing. And just let the body slow down as you let the body settle into whatever position you're in, sitting or otherwise. Just let the body relax and settle and slow down. Again, breathing slowly. Maybe the mind will follow and slow down a little bit as well. And so that's our quick start off mindful pause. Hopefully it helped you to slow down a little bit. Usually we're all kind of running on high gear. And so we're going to talk a little bit about rushing, this idea that we're almost always rushing while we're at work, getting to work, leaving work, all the things we have to do in between for our families and our personal lives. And so this idea that that's understandable and normal to rush when we have all those things to do. But sometimes we notice when we're rushing and we're kind of scattered and we're multitasking, that can lead to mistakes and also to more stress and productivity. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. So making an effort, a conscious effort to slow down, we can become more effective and efficient in our tasks. And that just gives us more time. It's that whole thing of, instead of reacting to stimuli automatically in our autopilot mode, that we can, when we're more mindful and we're breathing and we're a little slowing down a little bit, we can then respond to those things. So it gives us greater wisdom and to reflect before jumping to any conclusions. So I invite you to take a few moments to become aware of how you're moving through your day. Notice as you go forward this afternoon and the next couple of days, are you rushing from one task to the next? Are you taking the time to fully immerse in each moment? So give that a try. Just, that's sort of your informal practice for the next day or so. Just notice when you feel really rushed, just maybe take a deep breath or two. Let things slow down a little bit and see if maybe you find yourself getting more done, feeling a little bit more present and more grounded when you do that. This is from the 31-Day Mindfulness Challenge by Shamash Aladina, who's an instructor that I've taken a couple of courses from. And he has a website, so if you want to check it out, I believe it's just his name.com, Shamash Aladina, as you see it spelled there. And also, what he says to try this going forward, if you catch yourself during the day as you're rushing, try these few steps. Just kindly notice, stop and notice that you're rushing. Be kind to yourself. You're rushing for a reason, and it's understandable. It is. We're just trying to get so much done. That's where the multitasking comes in, I think. Connect with the present. Take a conscious, deep, and slow breath in and out, or feel a connection of your body with the chair or the ground. It just gets you out of the head and into the body, right? Then reflect. Remind yourself that rushing often ends up causing more stress and mistakes, and it's faster actually to slow down. And then refocus. Put your attention back on your task, but endeavor to move to more slow, to write that wrong, to more slowly, to endeavor to focus more slowly and with greater awareness. So give that a try. That's, again, sort of your informal practice going forward. It's something that we all do, I think, or most of us anyway, and it causes us, especially while we're at work, and no matter what kind of work you do, to multitask. And so I've come across this a few times lately in the mass media. I'll reference a New York Times article in a moment. But this idea that when we are multitasking, it feels like we're getting more done. It feels like we're, moving through the day, taking care, checking things off. But so is it helpful or not? Feels like it is, but is it really helpful? So they've done some studies on this. And so the question, can your brain actually multitask? Yes and no. You can multitask, and I'll show you this in a moment, but basically, if it's two conscious tasks that require our ability to really focus in, you can't do both at once. If there's one task that's relatively routine and you know that by rote, you can do that. And as we all do that with while we're eating or while we're walking, or we're talking on the phone and we're doing other things. There's lots of examples of that, correct? So yes and no. The no is that we can't actually switch, but when we switch, we pay what's been dubbed a switch cost. This is from this New York Times article, which I'll reference in a moment. We're going to be slower and less accurate than we would have been if we stayed on a single task. When we multitask, we can tax our working memory, our ability to hold or handle information in our mind. The more we overload that system, and the more we're trying to keep in our brains at once, the more mental fatigue it can lead to. That's why we get more tired and stressed out from it. So 5 ways habitual multitasking can hurt us. It does increase stress. It fatigues the brain. It impairs our ability to do any one task well, deprives us of more meaningful, deeper experiences. We're not in the present moment. We're off, scattered. Our mind is in many places at once, and it increases error risk. So this is, there's a link here. I'll send the slides out as I usually do. If you want to read the whole article, it's pretty interesting. And basically, if we think about doing one task that we set our mind to do. So for example, we think about, we're going to cook dinner. And just think about what we have to do. From the moment we decide what to make, different regions of the brain, collectively referred to as our cognitive control network, collaborate to make this happen. So areas of the brain that are involved in executive functioning or the ability to plan and carry out this goal-directed behavior. Together, they create a mental model of the job at hand and what you need to accomplish it. So Your brain might do this with external and internal information, like the ingredients in your fridge or your memory of the recipe, right? So this is what we're drawing from in our brain is what's on our mental whiteboard. It's that immediate short-term memory part of the brain where we log all this information on the whiteboard. But like a whiteboard, it gets erased pretty easily. So what happens if your friend calls and starts talking and ranting about her day? So, that can easily wipe out what's on the whiteboard. Your attention has been diverted. You're distracted. You're not focused now fully on the making of the meal, but on what your friend is doing. You're trying to get things together. Perhaps it's easy to grab a few things out of the fridge, but every time you switch your attention to that new task, your brain has to reorient itself. So if you know the dish that you're trying to create is that you know it like the back of your hand, and the conversation with your friend is light and breezy, then it's probably not a problem. But the more effort each task takes, so if it's a complicated recipe, or if it's the conversation has got a lot of emotional content, it's going to really be hard to do both at once. You're switching back and forth, and that's where the taxing on the brain comes in. So 3 tips for multitasking. Multitask only when necessary. And again, this is just the part where you can begin to become a little bit more aware of it. I think you're all here because you're already practicing. And I think that's great. You're a step ahead. I don't know about you, but I've noticed so many different things in the mass media about being in the present moment, being here and now, just bringing yourself right here, right now. That's great. But I think just saying it is different, and it's easier said than done. So for yourselves, it's the practice. It's our mindful practice that really helps us do this. So notice when you're multitasking, ask yourself, is it necessary? Or maybe the next step, maybe try just monotasking. Even just doing it for small increments, maybe 5 or 10 minutes. Just try focusing in on that one task. If you recall, one of the exercises that we do in some of the classes is we do what's called informal mindfulness, and that's just simply focusing on what you're doing while you're doing it. Simple little things like preparing a cup of coffee or washing your hands or doing the dishes or simple routine things that we do at work. Really focus in on that as if for the first time is where we begin to use our beginner's mind, noticing it and feeling it using your senses as if for the first time. Don't multitask in relationships. This really sends the message, you aren't worthy of my full attention, so be careful of that. Again, I think most of us are guilty of that at times, but try to pay attention to that. Try to pay attention to really mindfully listening to what the other person is saying, and giving your full and complete attention to connecting with that person. And then finally, of course, do not multitask in high stakes situations. So, some of us are doing the kind of work that is really important. It's not good to multitask if there's patient safety or risk at hand, or you're doing something that really where a slight error can make a difference. So try to be careful of that in those situations as well. So as I said, I think you all on this call here kind of have a leg up because we've been practicing mindful techniques and just breathing, it turns out. Doesn't have to be complicated, but just simply breathing can be one of the most effective antidotes to multitasking. So if you get to the point when you've been multitasking and your mind feels a little bit scattered, and you're having a hard time focusing in, just try simple breathing techniques. And this, again, has been shown in so many studies that just focusing in on the breath can really help our brain begin to become more focused and attentive. And it's really what it comes down to is our attention. So when we're multitasking, our attention is frayed and scattered. When we're breathing, or you could even use we'll do a practice kind of using our body a little bit, bringing our attention into the body. That can also help us focus our attention. So a couple of simple, just so we don't get complicated, just a very simple breathing of 4 on the in-breath. We're going to do this in the practice, which we'll start in just a moment or two. And then 6 on the out-breath, or even 8. So in other words, breathing into the count of 4, making sure that your out-breath is at least 1.5 times, or to the count of 6, or even twice as long, so that you're really fully exhaling. This brings on the relaxation response, but it also just brings on that being able to focus and that training of the attention. Another simple technique that was in this link here references a study where they compared a number of different types of breathing. So box breathing, you might have heard of that, is like, for example, 4 on the in-breath, you hold it for 4, 4 on the out-breath, you hold it for 4. There's that. They did the 4, 6, 8 breathing. So breathing in for 4, holding for 6, breathing out for 8. But what they found is this, what's called cyclic sighing, was the most effective. So they took a group of participants, they showed them how to do cyclic sighing, which basically is, as you breathe in, it's like a 2-part in-breath. So you slowly inhale through the nose to expand the lungs, kind of halfway in. And then the second part is you inhale again to fully fill the lungs. And then you're slowly exhale through the mouth with a sigh. So it's like breathing in 2-part, like halfway in, and then all the way in, and then like a sigh, breathing it out. And what they found is that this is one of the most effective techniques for focusing our attention, but also for stress reduction and for positive mood improvements. So we're going to do this simple. We'll start. We've done this many times, so this will be a pretty basic. But I'm going to start. We'll do the 4, 6 counting, and then we'll also do the cyclic sign in this. If you want, you can add phrases if it helps to keep your attention on the in and out breath, so you can sort of mentally note to yourself in and out, or calm and ease, something like that. But for this, all you really have to do is follow my instructions. But if you're doing it on your own, you might want to, use some mentally noting techniques. Okay, so let's begin our first practice. So start just by taking a comfortable seat with your spine relatively tall and your eyes gently closed. And if you prefer, you can keep your eyes slightly open with a downward gaze in front of you. And simply first become aware of the breath, just as it is. And take a minute to fully arrive in this moment. As you do so, maybe notice how you feel. Can you identify any areas of tension? Is your energy high or low? Is anything occupying your mind? So just kind of checking in mentally and checking in with tension and energy. Now let's start that deeper breathing. So we're going to breathe into the count of 4. So let's do that. Breathing in, 2, 3, 4. Hold it slightly, and then breathe out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pause slightly, and then into 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold, and again, exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now let's do that a few more times. Just do that on your own. You get the idea. Breathing into 4, pausing, breathing out to 6, or even 8, if you can do that, whatever you're comfortable with it. Do that for a few more cycles on your own. And as we inhale, you might find a little extra length in your spine by reaching up as you breathe in, and find a little more openness in your heart by lifting your shoulders. Find a little softness in your face by relaxing the muscles in the jaw. And now we're going to do that cyclic sign. So we'll take a 2-part in-breath. First, fully, expanding your belly, and then expand your heart all the way to the collarbone, all the way up. So 2 parts. And then take a brief pause at the top and exhale through the mouth. In halfway, and then all the way out through the mouth. One more time. In halfway, then all the way, and then out. Sign it out. Do that a couple more times on your own. Now, when you feel the mind wander to another place, just gently invite your focus back to your breath. Allow your breath to lead, and your mind will follow. Before we close, just take a moment and notice how you feel. Take a couple of mental observations of how your body and your mind feels after this short period of breathing and stillness. And whenever you feel ready, without any rush, you can slowly open your eyes and take as much time as you need to come out of the meditation. You might feel free to stretch or sit still, whatever feels best, whatever your body needs. All right, so that's our first practice. Simple breathing. You can do it whatever way. I just gave you a couple of examples, but basically just really breathing in, making sure your exhale is longer than your inhale. I don't know about you, but I feel a lot more relaxed. I kind of feel a little bit, even a little bit lightheaded. But tell me, what was that like for you? Feel free to give me a little bit of feedback. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. You can either speak up, unmute yourself and speak up, or put something in the chat as to what that was like. And as you do that, I will move forward to the next slide. And basically, I don't know about you, but I've been following college basketball, go UConn, right? Men's was a great game. We won the national championship. The women, unfortunately, fell short and they lost to Iowa. You might have heard of Caitlin Clark, considered to be one of the best players in women's basketball. And so, again, like I said, I've been seeing more and more references to being in the moment, to, coming to the present in all sorts of ways. different sports, but I've seen it in movies, in TV shows, in articles. It's all over the place. So again, I think we all have a kind of a head start because we've been doing some of these practices. But I came across this from an article about Caitlin Clark, and a reporter asked her if revenge was on her mind as her team faced LSU for the second year in a row. And so this quote, "To be honest, no, it's not about last year. You worry too much about the past, you're going to get caught up in that. It's about being present, being where your feet are." I love that. Don't worry about being in the Final Four. Be in this moment. That's what's going to allow you to win the 40 minutes. And that's exactly what we did. So great lesson to be learned. I love that attitude. And so I think if we can bring that be in the moment attitude, not just as a kind of a, quick little phrase, but bring that attitude to our daily practices, especially as we notice that we're rushing or multitasking. Just see if you can drop out of that autopilot and bring that moment by maybe doing a little deep breathing or feeling rooted in the body, whatever it is, can be very, very helpful. So I came across these also. Might want to read these when you get the slides. Does just breathing or meditation really work? Well, I wanted to give you some things to back that up. So this first article in Psychology Today talks about our brains as an anticipation machine. Our brains are creating a map of now by assuming what's going to happen next. It's not so much planning, but anticipating, the article states. It's anticipating its immediate next actions, even with trauma or stress. When a trauma or stress memory comes up, it's not always neatly compartmentalized in its original time and place, and a person may feel that fight, flight, or freeze, fight, flight, or freeze reaction, right? That's something we've all felt. Breath work, again, has been shown to really make a difference, has been shown to even help with people struggling with anxiety, panic, and even trauma memories. So great article. Again, he goes on to talking about just focusing on the inhale, counting again. He uses the counting example, and then making the exhale long and slow. The next link here is how I rewired my brain in 6 weeks. A pretty interesting little video from the BBC, and they're doing a series on neuroplasticity. And what the reporter did was she did an fMRI brain scan before the 6 weeks, and then she did 6 weeks of daily meditation. They actually did 30 minutes, which is a lot, I think, for most of us. And I'll talk about kind of the optimal amount of time, but she did 30 minutes. And then she went back after the 6 weeks and they did another fMRI, and they actually found a reduction in the amygdala. That's the area of the brain that processes our emotions and that whole fight, flight, or freeze reaction. And it was reduced. And they actually saw that on the brain scan, that it was reduced, which is a good thing, because when we're under stress or anxiety or depression, it gets larger. So they saw a reduction in that. They also saw an increase in the posterior cingulate cortex. That's the part of the default brain network, which controls mind wandering and ruminating, which we talked about a little bit before. But when our minds are wandering, obviously we're not in the present moment, and we tend to wander into more negative things or things that we're concerned about, and we can get into that kind of ruminating, obsessing cycle. So pretty interesting. So that increased, in other words, it decreasing the mind wandering and ruminating, increasing the capacity to be more present and focused. And then finally, another link, this is a YouTube link, Dan Coleman, who is one of the people who actually wrote a book about emotional intelligence. He also wrote another book on meditation with Richie Davidson. But anyway, he, in this brief video, talks about even just doing 10 minutes a day can change the mind, can change the brain, can have some actual changes in the neural pathways in the chemistry of the brain. So if you want to look at any of those, you'll see those. And, but it does. This stuff works. And see a couple of chats here. Enjoy the breathing, helps get more focused. Okay, good. Somebody has to leave. I understand, no problem. If you do have to leave, I will be sending out the recording link and the slides, as I always do. So let's do the last meditation. And as I bring up this image, this one we're going to use a little bit more of imagery and nature, and we'll get a little more grounded in this one. So we'll use some breath work as well. But again, a pretty standard breath and body grounding type meditation. And it's called Grounding in Nature. It's from Happiness Break, and it's Spring Washam is the instructor where I found this from. She's a meditation teacher and author of the book, The Spirit of Harriet Tubman, Awakening from the Underground. So let's do this meditation. So as you begin to feel yourself sitting, anchoring our attention to the breath, allowing ourselves to come into the present moment, we use the breath as we have been as our guiding force. This is our anchor for our awareness. It's inhale and rising, and then exhale and falling. And now get a sense of feeling where you're sitting or standing. And feel how this element is holding you up. You're being supported in every moment. And just relax your body, your whole posture. And what we're doing when we're grounding is we're allowing the earth element to support us. The sense of grounding and the practice of grounding is also really about connecting to the earth. So as you sit and you breathe, remembering to continue feeling the breath, let go of anything that you're carrying. We give it to the earth. We allow the energy of the ground to hold everything. It's almost like we allow ourselves to dissolve and allow the energy of this ground to hold you up. And the more we come back into our body, the more we feel this groundedness. Feel the earth body beneath you. The earth is strong, it's steady, it's rooted. When we practice grounding, we can imagine that we're like a tree, that our energy is like a tree with the roots going all the way down into the earth. And when we look at some of these beautiful trees around us, we see their roots go out and spreading and go deep into the earth. And we want to imagine that our own body is rooting down, is rooting in a way that is unmovable. we become unshakable when we're grounded. Life can't push us over in the same way. And as you breathe in and as you breathe out, let go and offer everything that you're holding to the earth. The distracted mind, the anxiety, the fear, the restlessness. And imagine that it's just dissolving. And let your body be like a great mountain now. And the breath is the breeze. And the mind is the sky. Feeling the presence of the earth element and the groundedness. And with each breath, let go. Rooting, connecting, like the trunk of a tree. Our legs are rooting down into the earth. So let your body be grounded and rooted. Let your upper body reach to the sky, the branches of the tree reaching up toward the sky. And as we close this meditation, you might try ending with placing your hand on your heart and just offering yourself some kindness, a sense of well-being and joy. May this body be happy and peaceful. And when you're ready, if your eyes have been closed, feel free to open them. Again, slowly rising from the meditation, taking your time, maybe moving a little bit, coming back, reconnecting with your surroundings. So these are just really helpful visualizations that we can use in our kind of mind's eye that you can practice at any time. When you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed, a little bit stressed, when our multitasking has gotten out of control, you might try the image of the tree and being grounded. So again, let me know what you thought. What did you think of that particular meditation? A little bit different, a little bit more of imagery, a little bit more what I might call advanced, a little bit different than the basic breathing. What was that like for you? Curious to know. And again, feel free to share in the chat if you'd like to. So as we start to come to a close here, just kind of remind you another simple, easy way to do this is the 3-minute breathing space. 3 steps. First step is becoming aware, kind of like we did, noticing thoughts, how things are in the moment, feelings, our emotional tone, body sensations, how's the body right now. Then we turn to gathering our attention with our breath, and then we expand and we open. So it's really simple. You can even do this in a minute. There is a 1-minute breathing space. Either way, just taking that brief pause to come out of that autopilot, that multitasking, that rushing sense that we get, and moving into the here and now, the present moment, really doing that. All right, appreciate that comment. Thanks, Paul. The imagery was like a mini vacation or retreat. Yes, it's good. I like that. Any other comments? Let me know. Here are just a couple of other ways to do this. Just We talked about some of these before, ways to kind of meditate without meditating formally. Walking, of course, a lot of people do this out in nature, so using that time to feel a sense of awe. I don't know about you, but if you tuned into the solar eclipse, that was pretty awful, full of awe, I should say. Pretty amazing. I wasn't able to see the total, we got about 90% here, but it's pretty incredible. Drawing is another way to do it. Even housework, again, those routine things that we can do. And singing, music, creative endeavors, pottery, or whatever things like that you like to do. Movement related, dance, sports. There's so many different ways we can bring mindful awareness and just really continue to cultivate that. And again, getting back to that basketball, if you watch college basketball or any kind of sport, but particularly with basketball, it's such a fast moving sport, and you kind of think, well, they're multitasking. They have to be, right? They have to be really thinking about all the possibilities in the moment. I think that's really the key. And I think that's what makes a great player great, is they're able to, in the moment, right then and there, know what the next best play is, whether it's a pass or a shot or a movement in a certain direction. Great way to kind of to think about it. And really what we're talking about here is, again, being in the moment, not doing, going out of the doing mode and just being. So keep working on that. Keep your practice up. We do have a reminder, we're still doing these phone meditations. There's not a lot of people that are joining these days, so feel free to join if you can at these times. These are live meditations that I do mostly myself. I also have a couple of other people who help out a couple times, so feel free to join. We also have meditations recorded on this phone line, the 688-6185 number, and also on our EFR website. We've got a mindfulness page and meditation page on there. We also still have the MLife app, which you can register on. Actually, I'll change that link. It's a different link now. It's the same as this one here, the CarolineWellbeing.com. I noticed a typo in there too. Must have been multitasking as I was doing that. And then finally, other resources. Again, this link I'll change. That's the older link. It does get redirected. All the stuff is on YouTube. That's where I put it all up. But then there are finally some other things here that you might want to try. These are different things as I think about, mindful driving, mindfully pausing at work, mindful meetings. These are the kinds of ways that we get distracted, when we're doing so many different things and we're trying to multitask. So that's what I have for you today. Thanks so much for joining me. Appreciate you coming together and practicing with me. I think it's important that we continue our own practice, but really important to practice together. So thanks for doing that with me, and have a great month, rest of April. And next month, we'll not sure what we're doing, but thank you there. Thanks for your thanks. I do appreciate that. And take good care. Good to see you all again. Stop this and we'll stop the recording.